Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, looking sexy as hell while I do it. Alright, I'm going to give you guys my one simple tip for getting ridiculously, brutally, insanely strong. Okay? And keeping in mind, I am in my late 40s. And to put into context, you guys have seen me squat over 500 pounds a few times. Depending on the bar, how deep I went, up to 605. You guys have seen me deadlift 635. You've seen me pause bench 365. You've seen me do like 315 for 8 reps. Okay? At a reasonably athletic, healthy body fat. In my late 40s. Coach a lot of high-level lifters. So honestly, my advice for my one tip for getting really strong, practice heavy singles. That's it. And they don't need to make up much of your training. And even these days, how do I personally train? I do a power building approach. I do a little bit of heavy work on the big three. Sometimes some other lifts. I occasionally like to max almost on a weighted pull up or, an incline or whatever. Like we do some other stuff. But by and large, most of my training is bodybuilder training. I train on a 5-day bodybuilding split with just a tiny little bit of heavy work on my big three. Now, people say, well, I don't understand. How does this get you strong? Because strength comes from force production, okay? It comes from force production, and we develop, it's not where we get our potential from. We actualize our potential on strength by doing 1 rep. That is how we measure strength in any sort of competitive environment. People say, well, no, there's different types of, there's endurance. No, that's endurance. It's endurance strength. Strength is the production of force. In other words, if you produce 1,000 pounds of force or 1,000 kilos, that is more than if you produce 990. Even if you produce 990 37 times in a row, it was a lower amount of force production. Okay? Same thing even for any other sport. Let me put this into context. Display of strength and power would be Mike Tyson punching somebody one time and knocking them out. That more likely to happen if he does 1,000 pounds of force or 900. Even if he can do 900 repeatedly, if he wanted to get that connect one time, obviously he's got to put it just in the right spot, the right angle. But that force, it is that force that creates that. If he was producing less force, he wouldn't get the same effect. I'm just using that as an example, one of many. Same thing for a high jump. Those are displays of strength, right? Those are displays of strength. All those things. Because they're showing a high peak force production. Okay? Someone who has an extremely high vertical. When they jump as high as possible and you're like, oh my God, that was insane. Okay? Or even a pole vaulter, still the same thing. That is a production of force. That is a display of strength. Same thing when Mike Tyson knocks someone out in one punch. That is a display of strength. It's an extremely high level of force being produced against an external object. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, heavy singles are how you learn to produce force. Now, your potential for all of it comes from gaining muscle. But my point here is you don't have to train all of your other training built entirely around getting strong. If you just get really jacked and you gain plenty of muscle, you're going to have a high strength potential. If you get really lean, you're going to have a high relative strength potential. So let's come back over and talk even physique. Same thing, right? If you gain as much muscle as possible and then you lose body fat to bring your body weight down, muscle mass is where you get your potential for force production. This is documented in the literature over and over and over and over, including even DEXA scans on high-level strength athletes. They can measure them with a DEXA scan and look at their lever arms, their arm and leg lengths, and how much muscle they have. and they know how they're going to rank up. They could take 10 power lifters. This has been done. They could take 10 power lifters, do a DEXA scan, take the measurements, run the ratios, and determine what order they're going to place in the competition. And it's been done accurately by researchers. See where we're going? Your muscle tissue is where it determines your force, production. Now, it's going to be relative to things like moment arms and levers and arms and legs, but those are all measurable. Those aren't arbitrary, oh, we don't understand them. No, we understand them. Again, scientists have been able to accurately predict what strength athletes can lift based upon these scans and looking at their skeleton structure versus how much muscle they have. And they can predict their squat, bench, deadlift, stuff like that. Okay? So this has been done. So as far as all the other stuff goes, just train to get jacked. Do whatever your other goals are. And the more muscle you gain, the higher your strength potential is going to be. Okay? The leaner you get, the better your relative strength potential is going to be. So you can train for all this other stuff. It's fine. Do heavy singles. And when I say heavy singles, I don't mean come in and grind out with bad form. I'm talking anything 90% or heavier. 92% with perfect form. Done regularly on a few lifts like squat, bench, and deadlift will raise your strength dramatically. This will give you the potential you need. And yes, there have been plenty of world record level power lifters who train like this. Okay? Who don't even do that much heavy work. And I mean, Westside was a perfect example. 5% of their time was spent doing max effort work, 25% doing speed work, 70% just getting jacked. Bodybuilding type work, pump work, high rep stuff, just get jacked. That gym produced 100 world record holders among the different powerlifting classes, training that way. Okay? We come back over max lifts. And again, it can be sub-max as long as it's above 90%. So when I say max lifts, we're talking training maxes. We're not talking about with terrible form. Although you could go that route too. That's its own system. That still can work, by the way. But the point is, the single trick for getting strong, doing powerful, explosive, heavy singles. And you don't need to do that many of them. Me personally, I do about 3 total a week because I have 3 lifts. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.